Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season finale of Preacher. So, a very crazy episode of Preacher. I really like the opening where it's basically like that person on the radio or whatever being like, oh yeah, the cops are still looking for Jesse, and we see Jesse running down the street getting away from some cops. And it's a little sad when they're like, oh yes, and that freak Eugene is still missing. It's like, screw you. But other than that, just like Jesse is still on his mission to bring God forth. It's so interesting because we see so much development, not just in him or, Tulip or Cassie, but we also see it in just all the other people around him because I love the fact is Tulip breaks into Donnie's house, holds a gun to it, towards him, and his wife is like, what the hell are you doing? And she slams her face in the table. It's like, where's Jesse? Because she thought, oh, he's got Jesse, he's going to hurt him. But it's like, nope, Jesse was there taking a bath. And then Donnie's giving all this stuff. Basically, he found God. He's like, the preacher showed mercy to me, and I showed mercy to him. He showed me that I don't have to be a bad person, that I can be a good person. And then even his wife is like, it takes a strong man to welcome God into his heart. So that was kind of interesting. It was so weird because he was so adamant of being, super pissed about Jesse. But I guess after the whole, Jesse telling him just to go ahead and kill him, seeing a different side of Jesse. During that time, he had the gun pointed to him in the church. But I guess, at that point, he was like, no, I'm not going to kill you. You didn't kill me when you had the chance. So I guess it kind of put a lot of things in perspective to him. Or he used Genesis. I don't know. I like to think he used Genesis, but maybe he didn't. Maybe they legitimately had to change art. I kind of feel like they would, because his wife, I feel like, would be so against it, being like, oh my God, no, he broke your arm. He broke you as a man, because he wasn't the pushy guy he normally was. I mean, which, granted, we saw a little bit of their sex life in this episode when he was spanking her and she had to get some frozen peas or whatever and sit on it, but she was delighted. So kind of going back to that, it's like, holy crap, that is their relationship. It's so weird because at the very beginning it's like, oh, the dad's abusing her, but it's like, no, that's just part of their relationship. They have very rough, kinky sex. But, the fact is, I don't think she'd be all about that. But maybe she would. Maybe she'd be okay with Donnie being, welcoming God into this. I don't know. It was just a really good episode of just everyone developing. We got a look at the whole Carlos situation. We finally found that out. What I liked about that whole scene is, for one, we found out how much of an asshole Carlos is, the way he was talking to that male lady, and then when she's walking away calling her a puta, because it's like, oh, we can always go out for Chinese food. And granted, he was just stalling for time, trying to keep her away, while they were robbing the place, but it's just, he talked like such a douchebag. It's like, you could just tell he was a douche. And then, especially when you end up finding out the reason why he ended up leaving them, it's like, oh yeah, the reason why I left, because you were happy. I wasn't happy, so it's like, screw you and your happiness, because they were having so much fun back there, especially when Jesse opened one of the safety deposit boxes and found, a double-fisted dildo. I'm like, wait, what? And even Tulip's like, ew, that's gross, and he's around there playing with it. It's like, who does that? Who puts something like that in a safety deposit box? That's so weird. But that's the reason why he freaking sold them out. I mean, he even released one of the security guards, and that's the one that Jesse ended up killing in an alleyway. So, and because I was an idiot and didn't realize it. The fact is, Tulip brought up to Emily the fact is that she had a child. I was thinking oh, you had a full-grown child. She was a little girl that ended up dying or something. For two things. It never crossed my mind that either Jesse would be the father. It just never crossed my mind. I thought maybe it was something that happened after Jesse, before Jesse. And I thought, that the baby was, like I said, a little kid. It never crossed my mind that the baby was in her stomach. But the whole stress about, him driving away, them being left to kind of, left in that situation, the authorities closing in and stuff like that. Because most likely that security guard called for backup. But, she started feeling pains in her stomach, and we can assume that's when she lost the baby. And it's just like, wow, you see why Tulip hates him so much. And it kind of came down to it, Tulip was forgave Jesse for everything, especially because she did, in fact, hear the message. That's why she came back. And she's like, oh, you do anything for me, right? Yep. And it showed him Carlos. And it's like, okay, so kill him. But Jesse's like, I don't want to kill him. That's not the right thing. We're going to go to hell. She's like, who cares? It's basically it's not going to bring our baby back. It's like, I don't care if it's going to not bring our baby back. I know it's not. But he still needs to pay. And so Jesse was getting ready to kill him, put his head in the bag, got an oven mitt to kind of act as a silencer. But then Tulip stopped him. Basically, what she wanted. Not, I don't know whether it's because she actually had a change of mind or was this what she wanted from the very beginning. She just wanted to know Jesse would, that he would be willing to kill someone. She's like, that's the kind of nicest thing anyone's ever done for me in my entire life, which in itself is kind of twisted that in fact is the nicest thing anyone's ever done for her. But she's like, basically the thought counts. So I don't know, maybe she legitimately had a change of heart because she just, kind of getting swept up in all this God talk and, seeing Jesse so adamant about not wanting to kill him. But at the same time, Jesse was like, yeah, it won't bring her back, our baby back, but it will make me feel better. But she stops him. So that was kind of interesting. I did like the fact of the matter is that they did decide to let him go. But before they let him go, Jesse gave him a gun because Tulip originally gave him, I can't even think of what it's called. Basically, thing you use to fix your tires. Basically handed him one of those, and Jesse was like, no, it's still not a fair fight. Then handed him the gun, and he's like, are you ready for this? They're like, no. He's like, I'm not ready. They're like, we don't care. And next thing we see him hobbling away. They literally, I can say this, literally beat the shit out of him. It's like, wow, they let you live. I'm surprised he didn't use Genesis on him, but hey, it worked out in the end. I mean, it makes you wonder, will we be seeing Carlos again? Will he be coming back for revenge or something? But that was just a very interesting, the way that ended up playing out. I did appreciate the fact that we finally got all this story on Carlos. To me, my imagination of Carlos was oh, he's some tough, suave dude. It's no, he's just some asshole. That's all he was, just some asshole that betrayed him for such a petty reason as you were happy. I didn't like that. I wasn't happy, so why should you two be happy together? It's that sucks. And, that was just, knowing that basically he was the reason why Tulip lost the baby, the whole stress of that whole situation was probably too much, and the baby ended up miscarrying, and it's just, it's understandable why Tulip hated him so much and wanted Jesse to help her kill him so badly. And from the way we looked at it when Jesse was holding her in the alleyway, it did seem like Jesse had it in his eyes, oh, the next time I see Carlos, I am going to kill him. But then again, that's still something we still don't know. How did Tulip and Jesse get from where they were in that alleyway all the way to where they are now? I mean, granted, it does seem by the end of the episode, it does seem like they've gotten back to a good place. I did like the fact is that Tulip was okay, what is this old Genesis thing? And he used it to have her kiss him. And then he slapped Jesse in the face and told him never to do that again, because this was her first experience with Genesis, which it shows you that's kind of a good thing. He's never actually used it on her before, which, is to applaud him. Like I said, there's been multiple occasions where he could have used Genesis on her to make her just leave town and go away if he wanted, to stay in town and do the whole preacher thing, but he didn't want her to go away. He always wanted her by his side. Now, side note, basically, by the end of the episode, we have him, Tulip, and Cassie going on the road, basically searching for God. Essentially, talk about all that in a little bit. But the fact of the matter is, when they were kissing and we see Cassie looking back at him, there was a part of my mind being I hope this doesn't turn into a repeat of the Carlos situation. What the whole Carlos situation is just to show us what pushed him to betray them. What if that ends up being the case? Because let's not forget, Cassidy actually had strong feelings for Tulip, and seeing them together might be a little too much for him to handle, especially living as long as he has, it's finally find a girl that he really likes just to end up losing her. That basically your feelings for her don't matter. That basically you have to give her over to let your best friend have her again. So it's he screwed up the first time. Why isn't it my chance to really be with her? But nonetheless. Now going back, before I get to that, I want to talk about the fact that the whole Cassidy and Sheriff thing. Sheriff arrested him, ended up figuring out what Cassidy was because of his record, being how far back it goes, looked it up online. So basically his tactic was to shoot Cassidy, feed him blood so he'd heal, just over and over again, basically torturing him, because he wanted to know what happened to Eugene. Luckily for him, Cassidy did tell him, your boy is alive. I mean, which may be a good thing, may be a bad thing considering where he is. He didn't outright tell him. I mean, granted, Jesse told him last episode where Eugene was, but, the sheriff didn't believe him. And so basically it kind of, eventually turn into a conversation of basically Cassidy being like, no one in the world is perfect. Jesse did what he did by accident. It wasn't like he trying to purposely hurt a little kid. That's just not, wasn't what his message was. Like, it wasn't what he was trying to do. But the fact of the matter is, people make mistakes. No one's perfect. He's like, the fact of the matter is, you're not perfect. Can you honestly say, you're sitting up here talking about you want your boy back somewhere, but can you honestly say there's not a small part of you that's happy he's gone? Which the fact of the matter is, there probably is. And legitimately, I think that's why he's pushing so hard to find Eugene, because the fact is he feels guilty, because he knows the rest of the town pretty much hates Eugene, but you can tell, sadly, part of him hates Eugene too. He even said it himself. Remember a couple episodes ago where he said, well, why don't you do it? Why don't you go ahead and finish it? Like the message said on his wall. So that did make that was something said out loud. It was something he never apologized for on screen. It is something, I guess, that was dealt with afterwards, because we did see him and Eugene together subsequently after that whole thing went down. But it's like, yeah, there is a part of him that felt guilty about it. So, it comes down to it. It's kind of like, was he doing it because he was tracking down Eugene because, like, oh, he's a loving, caring father, or is he doing it purely out of guilt? The pessimist in me is like, he's doing it out of guilt. Yes, there's a part of him that loves his son, but I feel like guilt outweighs his love. I don't know. Maybe he legitimately does love his son. I don't know. I did love by the end of the episode, there's kind of a little joke that, because we saw it because the sheriff was watching the TV. Apparently, Tom Cruise's ashes were sent off his face. I thought that was kind of interesting. They brought it back. It was a joke in the first episode of the season, and it was kind of a bit of a joke in the final episode of the season. So, but that's talking about that. We also kind of go back to the conversation I was going to have. The fact of the matter is, the whole God situation. Did not know how that was going to turn out. And then when it actually happened, I was like, okay, everyone's going to think this is a setup. But it's like, no, they're not. Because I'm surprised people accepted it so willingly and being like, oh, it's not some joke or whatever. Like, the people accepted it. There's that one girl that was asking a question, and she was about to ask another one. Someone's like, shut up. You already asked your question. And I did like the fact that someone made a joke that when Jesse is setting up the thing, he's like, someone shouted in the background, why don't you shoot his dick off? And everyone was just laughing. And the guy who got his dick shot off ends up laughing. He's just like, I love the fact is he even asked God, is there a way to get my dick back? And everyone busted out laughing, but he was so like heartfelt about it. He's like, I want my penis back. But I love the fact is that guy ended up being an imposter. I mean, it makes it so good, because it's just like, you're sitting there, you're picking your nose, you're not really giving distinct answers. Because even the fact is, Jesse brought up Genesis, but he didn't know about it. So maybe Genesis is something that only a select few angels know, because that's what I can only assume is what he is. I'll get to that in a second, but he didn't really comment on the fact is Genesis. He was just like, oh, let's get to the next question. If he really knew, he'd be like, wait, Genesis, you have Genesis? He didn't. So I'm guessing it's kind of one of, heaven, and it is heaven and hell's big kept secret. So there's probably like a lot of low ranking angels who don't know, basically that the thing exists. The only reason why Fior and Blanc know is because they were essentially Genesis was like a prisoner / pet that they took care of, essentially. They were its bodyguards / custodians. So that's the only reason why they know, because even though they're like on the hierarchy pool, they are at the very bottom. That's the only reason why they know about it. So I'm assuming he doesn't know it either. But to find out is like, yo, this guy isn't God. He's sitting here answering these questions, and then Jesse uses Genesis to make him talk. And it's like, actually, we don't know where God is. No one does. Maybe he's there on Earth. It's just like, and that news broke everyone in Anvil. Yes, I made sure to remember the town's name this time, and that obviously plays a real important role in remembering that. But the fact of the matter is, everyone in town lost their damn mind after hearing that God, like, it's gone. He's missing. No one knows where he is. The guy's being dragged off. They're like, basically, they never said anything, but it's like he's getting dragged off. They're like, you had one job, convinced him that you were God, and you couldn't do that, you freaking idiot. They're dragging him off. So, I don't know. It does make you wonder, like, they were there obviously overhearing the conversation most likely. So it's like, did none of them hear Genesis? It's like, how many people actually know that Genesis exists and what it is? But nonetheless, everyone lost their damn mind. We see Donnie kind of a little heartbroken after finding that out. He had welcomed God into his heart just to find out, hey, God's not around. Basically, his wife's sitting there all dressed up in her little outfit, and like, he's not doing anything. She's just kind of, then you just see sadly, Odin holding, like, he took some meat and he made it the shape of his little girl and holding her, which is kind of sad. Because to him, it broke his heart was broken because of the fact that he asked a question of like, oh, is my little girl up there with you? And the fake guy was like, yeah, she is. And it, that kind of instilled some hope in him for a second, just have it quickly ripped away from him, being like, oh God, it's all a shame. Even have Emily admitting the fact that she never really believed in God. I did like the whole thing, like when everyone was going a little crazy, when Jesse walked out, because Cassie was like, so where are we going, Padre? He's like, we're going to get some fries. Tulip says she wants some fries, and we see her kind of smiling like, oh, he said we were going to get some fries no matter what happened, and we end up going to get some fries. But you see Emily kind of smirking a little bit, and she's having fun playing the piano. I did love the fact is her little girl asked about Miles, and she's like, yeah, Miles, she kind of basically had a BS way around that. It's like, oh, should I save a spot for Miles? And it's like, Miles isn't coming. I was just like, oh, yeah, he definitely isn't coming. And it's just like, I still can't believe she did that, dude, that whole Miles situation. But the fact of the matter is, we finally had those three. They're going on Jesse, Cassidy, and Tulip going on a road trip to find God. Basically, either give him help, but if that doesn't work, we'll just kick his ass. And they're all gung ho for it. And I'm super excited to see what that whole adventure is about. I cannot believe Anvil blew up. We saw it last episode, the whole methane reactor thing overheating. I was like, okay, we saw the guy pulling it down. I was like, I didn't know whether that was a metaphor for last episode. No, was that last episode or episode before last? I think it was episode before last. But yeah, I was like, I didn't know whether that was serious or whether that was a metaphor, but it was like, no, that plays an important role. And it's like, yep, we see that guy that was there. I guess he got caught up in their little bondage play or whatever. Looks like he ended up dead, and the girl that was with him was trying to fix everything, and she sees everything happening. She's like, oh crap, all the methane goes up in flames. Which is kind of pretty cool. We ended up seeing a small bit of the destruction because we ended up seeing the church get destroyed. I know that sounds very sacrilege. I'm not trying to say a church being destroyed is cool. I'm just talking about in the context of the fact of the matter is of how it was wiped out. In the context of the show, that looked pretty cool. Not saying churches need to be blown up or anything like that. I know I don't have to explain that, but I don't want anyone to kind of nitpick over something like that. If it was just a regular house that they showed being blown up, I think that'd be pretty cool. But nevertheless, it was just mass devastation. The entire freaking town is gone. Everyone is dead. Did not expect something like that. I don't know. I expected maybe some places would blow up. I didn't know it would blow up to that extent, but it's like methane. Those pipes of methane were just all over the place, and it's just that place blew the sky high. There are no survivors. So literally every single character you've come to know across the entire first season, dead. Gone. Never see them again. And it's like, what the fuck? Dude, that is crazy. I was not expecting that. I guess there's they couldn't just make it so yeah, Jesse, Tulip, and Cassie left town. That's it. It's nope, they left town. They left a town that's no longer there. And it makes you wonder, will that play a significant role in anything later on? The fact of the matter is Anvil is gone. Will that lead to anything? I mean, granted, we did see that, from the destruction, we did see that the cowboy, because I'm going to refer to him as that. He does have a specific name. I saw it once, but I don't remember what it is. I don't think it's a legitimate name Hank or Fred. I mean, he most likely has one, but there's a specific title he has, and I don't remember what it is. So I'm just going to refer to him as Cowboy. We ended up seeing him killing the angel lady who kind of walked out of the devastation. She ended up, with a big hole in her chest, and all we heard was one word from him: preacher. So still looking for Jesse. Now, two things about this whole situation. One, we saw Fior return from hell. Sadly, he was by himself. So that means DeBlanc is dead. You just see it on his face, just he's sad. And the fact is DeBlanc didn't come back when we saw him get shot last episode. So that brings up two questions. Does that mean the cowboy has a power to kill anything? Just because he's supernatural, because he's that good, he can kill anything, including an angel? Or is it because DeBlanc was in hell? Does that whole reconstitution thing, when they die on Earth and they automatically pop back into existence, another version of them pops back into existence, does that only apply to Earth? Maybe that also means that in hell, that's not possible. So It could either be either one of the two. It'd be cool either way. I kind of want it to be like, yo, he's such a badass that he can permanently kill angels. I don't know if that's the case or not. Most likely it's probably that they can't reconstitute anywhere but Earth. It's not just a hell thing. Maybe it's not just a hell thing. It's probably also a heaven thing too. Like the reconstitution only applies on Earth. So, and also we did see Eugene one final time when Jesse was like, "Don't worry, Eugene, I'm gonna get you out of hell. I don't think I've forgotten about you." And he was like, "Thanks, preacher." So that's still another thing that he's got to find on his journey. So I did not expect that. Like, I don't know what they're going to do with, Eugene's character, aka Arseface. Yes, I know. It's always felt weird referring to him as that. I was like, because the first time I saw that, I was like, there's no way that's his legitimate name. It's like, no, and that is legitimate, the character's name, and it's like, some shape or form, like, how is he going to, like, makes you wonder, will that character always remain in hell? And the fact of the matter is, any interaction you have with that character, any other time you see that character, will always be in Jesse's head? Or does he legitimately come back, but just not human? I'm thinking like he's going to come back like really either messed up in the head, or he comes back as a demon or something. Or it would be interesting if it's like, yo, the entire like experience with Eugene / Arseface is the fact of the matter is he's in Jesse's head. The part of me is like, I hope he's able to pull Eugene out. I mean, it's like sad Eugene won't have a home to go back to because everything is gone. That still blows my mind. It's like you've literally wiped the slate clean with characters. It's like, yeah, they're on an open road, so rather than leaving the town be, we're going to blow it up. Granted, that might be related to comic book. I don't know. I'm very interested. That's something I'm actually going to have to look up, I'm going to end up having to do it after I record this, but I'm going to have to look up and see how true to the comic book was the show. Because from what I've heard, Seth and Evan like, yo, we're going to adapt this, but we're going to be as true to the comic book as we could be. Obviously, they skimmed across some stuff that wasn't too important, but it makes you wonder like how well adapted it was. So it makes me wonder, was that something that happened in the comic book too? I get the feeling that I was under the impression it's like, oh, he's going to stay in Anvil the entire time. Like everything's going to revolve around Anvil. Anvil is going to be like the centerfold for Supernatural, but it's like, nope, gone. So very interesting. Do not know at this time whether or not the show is being brought back for a second season because I haven't looked it up. Talked about it before. Don't really like looking that up. I like to kind of be surprised at the last minute whether to find out a show is being brought back or not. I think it is. I think the show's, I don't know how well it's doing. I've been freaking loving every second of it. It's just so good. Hands down, probably my favorite new show. It's just so good, so twisted and funny, and I'm loving it. So I hope AMC does the right thing and bring it back for a second season. I'm probably saying this, and they probably already greenlit it. It's like, yo, we greenlit it for another season like 3 episodes ago. It's like, yeah, the show's been doing fantastically well. So, that's what I like to think. And, that might be true. I don't know. Nevertheless, I do hope it comes back for a second season. I'm curious to see what they would do with the second season. Like I said, because this is all based on the fact is I know nothing about this series. I know nothing about the comic book or any of the adventures they go on. So it's all going to be new to me. So I'm interested to see, what direction the story takes from here. Like about the whole cowboy coming after Jesse. I mean, does he know specifically to come after Jesse, or will he be going around killing every other preacher that comes across his path? Like, it makes you wonder, will he stay the same way, stay in the same duds and stay in the same mindset, from whatever time it was he's originally from before he got sent to hell? Or will he kind of adapt? Will we see him kind of cut his hair, shave, and kind of wear modern clothes? I'm very, very curious. And it's like, what kind of misadventures are our 3 main protagonists going to get into? And the fact of the matter is they are on the open road, meaning there's a good chance that Cassidy's going to run into whoever it is that's hunting him, as well as who might come across the people he's allied himself with. And it makes also curious, like, are there any other things out there in the world? I mean, we know that angels exist, we know that demons exist because hell exists. I mean, hell also because Genesis is half demon, so we also know on that part. But we also, does that mean there are other things out there like Cassidy, him being a vampire, or there are other monsters too? I'm very curious about that. That's something I was quickly thinking in the back of my mind. When that whole fake God situation was going on, I was like, he's actually going to end up being like Lucifer or something, isn't he? Or Satan, or a demon or something, pretending, just getting its rocks off, lying to people. That's what I was thinking. But, like I said, it ended up being a fake angel. But Very, very good season finale. I just, like I said, I hope he's coming back for a second season. I just can't wait to see more. Even if it does get brought back for a second season, it's going to be a while. It probably won't be until like mid 2017 when that comes back. Maybe. I don't know. I guess it depends on the production schedule of the show and whatnot. So, but really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.